Brought to you by WikiVD Documentaries. Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. The Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting occurred on December 14, 2012, in Newtown, Connecticut, when 20-year-old Adam Lanza fatally shot 20 children between 6 and 7 years old, as well as 6 adult staff members. Prior to driving to the school, he shot and killed his mother at their Newtown home. As first responders arrived at the scene, Lanza committed suicide by shooting himself in the head. This was the deadliest mass shooting at either a high school or grade school in U.S. history and the third deadliest mass shooting by a single person in U.S. history. The shooting prompted renewed debate about gun control in the United States, including proposals for making the background check system universal, and for new federal and state gun legislation banning the sale and manufacture of certain types of semi-automatic firearms and magazines with more than 10 rounds of ammunition. A November 2013 report issued by the Connecticut State Attorney's Office concluded that Lanza acted alone and planned his actions, but no evidence collected provided any indication as to why he did so, or why he targeted the school. Background. As of November 30, 2012, 456 children were enrolled in kindergarten through 4th grade at Sandy Hook Elementary School. The school's security protocols had recently been upgraded, requiring visitors to be individually admitted after visual and identification review by video monitor. Doors to the school were locked at 9:30 a.m. each day, after morning arrivals. Newtown is located in Fairfield County, Connecticut, about outside New York City. Violent crime had been rare in the town of 28,000 residents. There was only one homicide in the town in the 10 years prior to the school shooting. Murder of Nancy Lanza. Sometime before 9:30 a.m. Est on Friday, December 14, 2012, Lanza shot and killed his mother Nancy Lanza, aged 52, at their Newtown home with a .22 caliber Savage Mk2F bolt-action rifle. Investigators later found her body clad in pajamas, in her bed, with 4 gunshot wounds to her head. Lanza then drove to Sandy Hook Elementary School in his mother's car. Mass shooting begins shortly after 9:35 a.m. using his mother's Bushmaster XM15E2S rifle. Lanza shot his way through a glass panel next to the locked front entrance doors of the school. He was wearing black clothing, yellow earplugs, sunglasses, an olive green utility vest, and was carrying magazines for the rifle. Initial reports, which had stated that he had been wearing body armor, were incorrect. Some of those present heard the initial shots on the school intercom system, which was being used for morning announcements. Principal Dawn Hochsprung and school psychologist Mary Sherlock were meeting with other faculty members when they heard, but did not recognize, gunshots. Hochsprung, Sherlock, and lead teacher Natalie Hammond went into the hall to determine the source of the sounds, and encountered Lanza. A faculty member who was at the meeting said that the 3 women called out, "Shooter! Stay put," which alerted their colleagues to the danger and saved their lives. An aide heard gunshots. A teacher hiding in the math lab heard school janitor Rick Thorne yell, "Put the gun down." Lanza killed both Hochsprung and Sherlock. Hammond was hit first in the leg, and then sustained another gunshot wound. She lay still in the hallway and then, not hearing any more noise, crawled back to the conference room and pressed her body against the door to keep it closed. She was later treated at Danbury Hospital. A 9-year-old boy stated that he heard the shooter say, "Put your hands up," and someone else say, "Don't shoot." He also heard many people yelling and many gunshots over the intercom, while he, his classmates, and his teacher took refuge in a closet in the gymnasium. Diane Day, a school therapist who had been at the faculty meeting with Hochsprung, heard screaming, followed by more gunshots. A second teacher, who was a substitute kindergarten teacher, was wounded in the attack. While she was closing a door further down the hallway, she was hit in the foot with a bullet that ricocheted. Lanza never entered her classroom.
After killing Hochsprung and Sherlock, Lanza entered the main office, but apparently did not see the people hiding there, and returned to the hallway. School nurse Sarah Cox, 60, hid under a desk in her office. She later described seeing the door opening and Lanza's boots and legs facing her desk. From approximately away, he remained standing for a few seconds before turning around and leaving. She and the school secretary Barbara Halstead called 911 and hid in a first aid supply closet for as long as 4 hours.
Janitor Rick Thorne ran through hallways, alerting classrooms. Shooter's suicide. The police heard the final shot at 9:43 a.m. They believe that it was Lanza shooting himself in the lower rear portion of his head with the Glock 20SF in classroom 10. Lanza's body was found wearing a pale green pocket vest over a black polo shirt, over a black t-shirt, black sneakers, black fingerless gloves, black socks, and a black canvas belt.
Other objects found in the vicinity of Lanza include a black boonie hat and thin-frame glasses. The Glock was found, apparently jammed, near Lanza, and the rifle was found several feet away from him. A 9mm 6-hour P226, which was not fired during the incident, was found on the shooter's person.
Police response. The first call to 911 was around 9:35 a.m. Newtown 911 police dispatch first broadcast that there was a shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary at 9:36 a.m., about 30 seconds after they received the first call.
Connecticut State Police were dispatched at 9:37 a.m. Newtown police arrived at the school street at 9:39 a.m., approximately 4.5 minutes after the 911 call, and Connecticut State Police arrived at the school street at 9:46 a.m. Newtown police first entered the school at 9:45 a.m.
approximately 10 minutes after the first 911 call, and approximately 14 minutes after the shooting had started. This was approximately 5 minutes after the last shot was heard. No shots were fired by the police. The Newtown Police and Connecticut State Police mobilized local police dog and police tactical units, a bomb squad, and a state police helicopter.
Police locked down the school and began evacuating the survivors room by room, escorting groups of students and adults away from the school. They swept the school for other shooters at least 4 times. At approximately 10 a.m., Danbury Hospital sent extra medical personnel in expectation of having to treat numerous victims.
3 wounded patients were evacuated to the hospital, where 2 children were later declared dead. The other was an unidentified adult. The New York City Medical Examiner dispatched a portable morgue to assist the authorities. The victims' bodies were removed from the school and formally identified. During the night after the shooting, a state trooper was assigned to each victim's family to protect their privacy and provide them with information. On December 4, 2013, 7 911 calls relating to the shooting were made public. On site, Investigators did not find a suicide note or any messages referring to the planning of the attack. Janet Robinson, superintendent of Newtown schools, said she had not found any connection between Lanza's mother and the school, in contrast to initial media reports that stated Lanza's mother had worked there.
Police also investigated whether Lanza was the person who had been in an altercation with 4 staff members at Sandy Hook School the day before the massacre. It was presumed that he killed 2 of the 4 staff members involved in the altercation and wounded the 3rd in the attack. The 4th staff member was not at the school that day.
The state police stated that they did not know of any reports about any altercations at the school. Police sources initially reported Lanza's sibling, Ryan Lanza, as the perpetrator. This was likely because the perpetrator was carrying his brother's identification. Ryan told the Jersey Journal, Lanza's brother voluntarily submitted to questioning by New Jersey State Police, Connecticut State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Police said he was not considered a suspect, and he was not taken into custody. Ryan Lanza said he had not been in touch with his brother since 2010. Connecticut State Police indicated their concern about misinformation being posted on social media sites and threatened prosecution of anyone involved with such activities.
A large quantity of unused ammunition was recovered inside the school, along with 3 semi-automatic firearms found with Lanza, a .223 caliber Bushmaster XM15E2S rifle, a 10mm Glock 20SF handgun, and a 9mm Sig Sauer P226 handgun. Outside the school, an Ijmash Saiga 12 shotgun was found in the car Lanza had driven. Shortly after the shooting, police announced that Lanza used the rifle to kill the victims at the school.
At a press conference on December 15, Dr. H. Wayne Carver II, the chief medical examiner of Connecticut, was asked about the wounds, and replied, "All the ones that I know of at this point were caused by the long weapon." When asked if the children suffered before dying, Carver replied by stating that, if so, not for very long. Under Connecticut law at the time, the 20-year-old Lanza was old enough to carry a long gun, such as a rifle or shotgun, but too young to own or carry handguns.
On March 28, 2013, court documents released from the investigation showed that the school shooting had occurred in the space of less than 5 minutes with 156 shots fired. This comprised 154 shots from the rifle and 2 shots from the 10mm pistol. Lanza fired 1 shot from the Glock in the hallway and killed himself with another shot from the pistol to the head. Offsite. Investigators evaluated Lanza's body, looking for evidence of drugs or medication through toxicology tests. Unusually for an investigation of this type, DNA testing of Lanza was utilized. The results of the toxicology report were published in October 2013, and stated that no alcohol or drugs were found in his system. Lanza's autopsy showed no tumors or gross deformities in his brain. Lanza removed the hard drive from his computer and damaged it prior to the shooting, creating a challenge for investigators to recover data. At the time of publication of the final report, it had not been possible to recover data from it. Police believe that Lanza extensively researched earlier mass shootings, including the 2011 Norway attacks and the 2006 West Nickel Mines school shooting at a one-room school in Nickel Mines, Pennsylvania. Police found that Lanza had downloaded videos relating to the Columbine High School massacre, other shootings, and 2 videos of suicide by gunshot. Details of the investigation were reported
by law enforcement officials at a meeting of the International Association of Police Chiefs and Colonels held during the week of March 11, 2013.
An article published in the New York Daily News on March 17, 2013, provided purported details of this report by an anonymous law enforcement veteran who had attended the meeting. The source stated that the investigation had found that Lanza had created a 7 by 4 foot-sized spreadsheet listing around 500 mass murderers and the weapons they used, which was considered to have taken years of work and to have been used by Lanza as a scoresheet. On March 18, 2013, Lt. Paul Vance of the Connecticut State Police responded that the information from this meeting was law enforcement sensitive information and considered the release to be a leak.
The March 28 documents also provided details on items found at Lanza's home, including 3 samurai swords, a newspaper article about the Northern Illinois University shooting, and a National Rifle Association certificate. The NRA denied that Adam Lanza or Nancy Lanza were members, and reporters noted that the NRA site provides training certificate completion templates for courses offered by NRA-certified instructors. A gun safe was found in a bedroom, and investigators found more than 1,400 rounds of ammunition and other firearms at home. Lanza had access to 3 more firearms, a .45 Henry rifle, a .30 Enfield rifle, and a .22 Marlin rifle. These were legally owned by Lanza's mother, who was described as a gun enthusiast. According to Time, authorities also found a photograph of Lanza holding a gun to his head at his home following his death. According to the New York Times, law enforcement officials commented that Lanza would spend most of his time in his basement doing solitary activities. According to the same officials, it also appeared that Lanza may have taken target practice in the basement.
Education. Lanza attended Sandy Hook Elementary School for a brief time. Afterward, he attended St. Rose of Lima Catholic School in Newtown, and then Newtown High School, where he was an honors student. He was taken out of high school at the age of 16, and began attending Western Connecticut State University shortly thereafter. Subsequent to his removal from high school, Lanza was homeschooled by his mother and father, and earned a GED. Lanza's aunt said his mother removed him from the Newtown public school system because she was unhappy with the school district's plans for her son. He attended Western Connecticut State University in 2008 and 2009. Students and teachers who knew him in high school described Lanza as intelligent, but nervous and fidgety. He avoided attracting attention and was uncomfortable socializing. He is not known to have had any close friends in school. Behavioral problems. Lanza was diagnosed with a sensory integration disorder at the start of elementary school. When he was 13, he was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome by a psychiatrist, according to his father, Peter Lanza. Adam also had obsessive-compulsive disorder, being referred in October 2006 for treatment for his conditions, when behavioral-based therapy and the antidepressant Celexa were prescribed. Following objections from Nancy Lanza, the treatment was discontinued after 4 visits, and Lanza stopped taking the medication. In a 2013 interview, Peter Lanza said he suspected his son might have also suffered from undiagnosed schizophrenia in addition to his other conditions. Lanza said that family members might have missed signs of the onset of schizophrenia and psychotic behavior during his son's adolescence.
because they mistakenly attributed his odd behavior and increasing isolation to Asperger syndrome.
Because of concerns that published accounts of Lanza's autism could result in a backlash against others with the condition, autism advocates campaigned to clarify that autism is a brain-related developmental disorder and not a mental illness. The predatory aggression demonstrated by Lanza in the shooting is generally not seen in the autistic population.
Sensory processing disorder does not have official status by the medical community as a formal diagnosis, but is frequently one of the characteristics of autism. Kathleen A. Koenig, a nurse at the Yale Child Studies Center, said Lanza had symptoms of obsessive-compulsive disorder because he frequently washed his hands and changed his socks 20 times a day, to the point where his mother did 3 loads of laundry a day. In addition, he would sometimes go through a box of tissues in one day, because he could not touch a doorknob with his bare hand. Lanza was fascinated with mass shootings, most notably the Columbine High School massacre and the Northern Illinois University 2008 shooting. He did not allow anybody in his bedroom, refused to have a Christmas tree in the house, and would not eat his food unless it was arranged in a particular way on his plate.
He had also chosen to cut off contact with both his father and brother in the 2 years before the shooting, and at one point communicated with his mother, who lived in the same house, only by email. A document entitled "Selfish," about the inherent selfishness of women, was found on Lanza's computer after his death. Physical condition. According to a report issued by the Office of the Child Advocate in Connecticut in November 2014, Lanza may have suffered from anorexia as a teenager. A February 2008 medical note stated that he was around 5 foot 10 inches tall and weighed 112 pounds. At the time of his death, he was found to be anorexic to the point of malnutrition and resultant brain damage, with a height of 6 feet and weight of 112 pounds. Reported 2011 phone call. In January 2014, the New York Daily News reported that Lanza had made a phone call to a college radio station in Oregon in December 2011, in which he used the name Greg and compared a teenage mall shooter to Travis the chimpanzee.
An audio recording of the call obtained by the newspaper was said to contain Lanza's voice by 2 of his former high school classmates. Lanza is also said to have discussed the possibility of going on to the radio show in an instant messaging conversation, in which he had the username Smiggles.
Danbury State Attorney Stephen Sedensky said, "Adam Lanza may have called a radio station, but I do not specifically know whether or not that is Adam Lanza on the audio tape." Responses. President Barack Obama gave a televised address on the day of the shootings, saying, "We're going to have to come together and take meaningful action to prevent more tragedies like this, regardless of the politics." Obama expressed enormous sympathy for families that are affected. He also ordered flags to be flown at half-staff at the White House and other U.S. federal government facilities worldwide in respect of the victims. On December 16, Obama traveled to Newtown, where he met with victims' families and spoke at an interfaith vigil. Dannel Malloy, the governor of Connecticut, addressed the media the evening of the shootings near a local church, holding a vigil for the victims, urging the people of Connecticut to come together and help each other. Malloy said, "Evil visited this community today, and it is too early to speak of recovery. But each parent, each sibling, each member of the family has to understand that Connecticut We are all in this together. We will do whatever we can to overcome this event. We will get through it." Hundreds of mourners, including Malloy, attended vigils in various churches in Newtown. On December 17, Malloy called for a statewide moment of silence and church bells to be tolled 26 times at 9:30 a.m.
On December 21, exactly 1 week after the school shooting, Ann Duncan, the U.S. Secretary of Education, said, "Our thanks go out to every teacher, staff member, and first responder who cared for, comforted, and protected children from harm, often at risk to themselves. We will do everything in our power to assist and support their healing and recovery of Newtown." The day after the shootings, Lanza's father released a statement. Leaders from many countries and organizations throughout the world also offered their condolences through the weekend after the shooting. President Obama honored the 6 slain adults posthumously with the 2012 Presidential Citizens Medal on February 15, 2013. President Obama said, "And then, when Dawn Hochsprung, and Mary Sherlach, Vicky Soto, Lauren Rousseau, Rachel Davino, and Marie Murphy when they showed up for work at Sandy Hook Elementary on December 14 of last year. They expected a day like any other, doing what was right for their kids.
Spent a chilly morning readying classrooms and welcoming young students. They had no idea that evil was about to strike. And when it did, they could have taken shelter by themselves. They could have focused on their own safety, on their own well-being, but they didn't. They gave their lives to protect the precious children in their care. They gave all they had for the most innocent and helpless among us. And that's what we honor today: the courageous heart, the selfless spirit, the inspiring actions of extraordinary Americans, extraordinary citizens."
Sandy Hook conspiracy theories have become social phenomena, despite overwhelming contemporary coverage of the incident.
Gun control. The Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting prompted renewed debate about gun control in the United States, including proposals for making the background check system universal, and for new federal and state legislation banning the sale and manufacture of certain types of semi-automatic firearms and magazines with more than 10 rounds of ammunition. Within hours of the shooting, a We the People petition was started asking the White House to immediately address the issue of gun control through the introduction of legislation in Congress. And the gun control advocacy group, the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, reported that an avalanche of donations in the hours after the shooting caused its website to crash. 5 days later, President Obama announced that he would make gun control a central issue of his second term, and he created a gun violence task force, to be headed by Vice President Joe Biden. On January 16, 2013, Obama signed 23 executive orders and proposed 12 congressional actions regarding gun control.
His proposals included universal background checks on firearms purchases, an assault weapons ban, and limiting magazine capacity to 10 cartridges. On December 21, 2012, the National Rifle Association's Wayne LaPierre said gun-free school zones attract killers, and that another gun ban would not protect Americans. He called on Congress to appropriate funds to hire armed police officers for every American school, and announced that the NRA would create the National School Shield Emergency Response Program to help. After LaPierre's press conference, the Brady campaign asked for donations to support its gun control advocacy and asked NRA members, who believe like we do, that we are better than this, to join its campaign. On January 8, 2013, Former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, who was shot and injured in a 2011 shooting in Tucson, launched the gun control group Americans for Responsible Solutions, with a specific aim of matching or exceeding the fundraising capabilities of the NRA and similar groups. On January 16, 2013, New York became the first U.S. state to act after the shooting, when it enacted the Secure Ammunition and Firearms Enforcement Act. On April 4, 2013, Connecticut and Maryland both enacted new restrictions to their existing gun laws.
10 other states had passed laws that relaxed gun restrictions. Legislation introduced in the first session of 113th Congress included the assault weapons ban of 2013 and the Manchin Toomey Amendment to expand background checks on gun purchases. Both were defeated in the Senate on April 17, 2013. Video games. A renewed debate about the effects of violent video games on young people began soon after the shooting due to news reports suggesting Lanza frequently played violent video games. Connecticut Senator Christopher Murphy stated in January 2013 that, as well as guns, video games played a role in the shootings. He said, "I think there's a question as to whether he would have driven in his mother's car in the first place if he didn't have access to a weapon that he saw in video games that gave him a false sense of courage about what he could do that day." Wayne LaPierre, CEO and Executive Vice President of the National Rifle Association, publicly blamed video games for the shooting, specifically targeting the free online game Kindergarten Killers created by Gary Short. Police found numerous video games in the basement of Adam Lanza's home, which was used as a gaming area. The final report into the shooting, published in November 2013, noted that Lanza played video games often, both solo at home and online. They could be described as both violent and non-violent. One person described the shooter as spending the majority of his time playing non-violent video games all day, with his favorite at one point being Super Mario Bros. The report described his liking for Dance Dance Revolution, which he played frequently for hours with an acquaintance at a movie theater in Danbury, which had a commercial version of the game, and also played the game at home. Investigators confirmed as genuine a video showing Lanza playing Dance Dance Revolution at the theater. The final report did not make a link between video games and the motive for the shooting.
Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVD Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.